Good news, bad news, things to talk about today. I don't know how some people are having so much sympathy for Denny Hamlin over this NASCAR Cup Championship. I've seen this NASCAR playoff, fallout scenario and people blaming the playoff and all this. And, it came down to one single day and it ruined an entire season. First of all, this is not the 2007 New England Patriots. This is what happens in sports. You can have a perfect season, even though Denny Hamlin did not. Once again, not the Patriots. And it come down to one day. That's normal in most professional sports. And if you don't perform the best on that one single day, you lose the championship. And furthermore, there's been a releasal of NASCAR championships on if they had no playoff system. Jeff Gordon would be a 7-time champion, apparently. Kyle Larson would only be a 1. And guess who would be a 2-time champion right now? Christopher Bell over the last 2 seasons. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. Other scenario that came out in the dirt late model world, very entertaining, very fun to see. The World of Outlaws putting out their schedule today. Cool to see their schedule come out and the way they did it. They actually did a little cool, I would call it modern creativity-based video to release their schedule. I thought that was just awesome. Good to see people get into the year of 2025 instead of like some 1980s rock music with a, Monster Jam voice to release something. The other thing that happened in the late model world that is just amazing, guy we've been talking about for years, Dallon Murty reaching an agreement, apparently going to be the 2026 Skyline Motorsports driver. This is a very prolific team. Dallon Murty, if you don't know who it is, pretty much wins in anything he gets in. That's why I call him similar to a Ricky Thornton Jr. Kind of did the same thing on the IMCA levels of motorsports racing action until he got the chances in the more expensive race cars he couldn't afford personally. I think that this combination is an Iowa dream stake, basically. I mean, the Skyline Motorsports team located up there in Decorah, Iowa. Of course, Dallon Murty being from the Iowa area. So it's just a potential home run if you think about it. I do think that patience is going to halfway be a deal here with a Dallon Murty. He does have the talent. He does have the ability. There is the potential for instant success with this pairing of Skyline and Dallon Murty. But it could take a while before you start seeing, heck, even Mike Marlar style results, or even a Shane Clanton style up there at the front all the time, winning national late model races frequently. I think that's going to take a little time for Dallon Murty, even though I am very high. I think it could be a Ricky Thornton Jr. It still took Ricky Thornton Jr. a few years. Obviously, he picked it up very quickly. But it still took Ricky Thornton Jr. himself a few years to get to elite super late model an elite super late model level of competitor to be able to threaten for national wins and championships year in and year out. He's there now, but it still took about 2.5, 3 years in super late model competition for Ricky Thornton Jr. to get there. I think it is going to take Dallon Murty, no matter how good he could be. I'm comparing him to Ricky Thornton Jr., who's the best there. I still think it will take a few years for Dallon Murty to, like I say, 2 to 3, about the same time amount that Ricky Thornton Jr. needed, 2 to 3 years for that combination that probably needs to stay together for Dallon Murty to have an opportunity. I think that's one of the best teams, local Iowa. It's, like I said, a dream stake situation. I still think it's going to take 2 to 3 of that group staying together with Dallon Murty to get to that upper echelon level. If they stay together, I think they can get to that upper echelon level with the Skyline Motorsports team. If that's their prerogative. Are they wanting to send Dallon Murty onto the national tours? All the details, etc. Obviously, we'll see that going forward. And then, heck, for the first time, I in my personal recollection of the team, it seems like Tyler Bruning's kind of going to be the older mentor guy of the scenario where it's been Mike Marlar's and Shane Clanton's kind of helping Bruning. Now it could be a situation where either Tyler Bruning's, helping out and assisting a younger driver in the scenario. So that'll be interesting to see as well. But I do like the pairing. I just think, once again, he is, in my opinion, a RTJ-style talent. It's just going to take 2 to 3 years for it to develop into that stage of results. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll have plenty of flashes of greatness next year with this pairing. Durational, frequency of success. I think that's where it's going to lack until we get into that period of racing time. In the late model world, once again, it is late model topics this week. According to Dirt Behind the Scenes. I think that's right. No hating. Hey, I mean, I've always talked about what happens behind the scenes is definitely different than what y'all see from the grandstands. But they have announced that XR, head honcho, CEO, leader, whatever you want to call it, Barry Braun, has been arrested. A lot of people in the comments speculating, and I guess speculating rightfully so, that this is because of his rumored, posted, publicized issues in paying race car drivers after winning or performing well, or just being in attendance and winning prize money at his events. I would say that, I don't think anyone intends to not pay. I think what happens is, being a race promoter in today's world, especially when you're trying to play with the big boys like XR was, 100,000, you're throwing out these big numbers, you want to make a big splash. It's gambling, man. It's full-blown gambling. And if you aren't got some money to play and you're playing with what you win, it's tough. That's why these other industries, you get Flow behind the industry, Dirt Vision, some of these big, lucrative, yearly assets with investors and groups and sanctions and multiple avenue streams to be able to support big events. And obviously, they're not paying for the events themselves sometimes. It seemed like most of the time XR was putting on the events, paying purses, whereas like an outlaw sprint car race, the track is putting on the event most of the time. Some of them are rented, some of them are the outlaws putting on the show, but most of the time, the purse is on the tracks, and it's all settled before the series gets there, sanctioning fees, all that. I feel like XR tried to make a splash. Barry tried to do a lot of the right things, but I would assume, if all these speculations are correct with not paying, he just, and floating notes and all that, I would assume he just got in too deep. Sometimes, you get into this hole and you find a way to get out of it, and you have some races that are profitable, and you're like, oh, this is how I can fix the problem. So you try to do it again, you gamble, and you lose. And now you're in 2x of a problem. You try to gamble and you lose 2 or 3 more times, and you're in 4x of a problem. And now maybe you win a little bit, but you ain't 5 or 6x in a problem. You're 2 or 3, and you're still trying to find a way to get out of 2 or 3, and it just adds up. I do think some things Barry was trying to do was correct. Obviously, it was if whatever's going on has to do with the rumors and what people are speculating, I would just chalk it up as to a guy who is in too deep. You just get in too deep sometimes, and you can't get out of it. So, no matter what you try to do, and I'm not saying extreme sympathy. I mean, it's not right to not pay drivers and all that, but I definitely don't think the intention from the jump was to, not pay drivers and not pay people. It was just a result of the gamble not going your way sometimes. So, anyways, that's just what I think. My little thoughts here. We're almost done with the harvest season. We only got a week here for those who have been keeping up with me. And then we'll be back to doing the live videos as normal, as scheduled. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Leave a comment with what you think on these various subjects. Keep up with us. Like the video. Share it around. As always, if you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. And we will catch y'all next time.